Hello and welcome to Maxmore Fire. I'm Alex.
And I'm Johnny.
And on today's episode, we're doing the Mechanicum deep dive. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Alex. You all right?
What's going on in Johnny Land?
Johnny is tired in Johnny Land from a weekend of wargaming.
Burning the candle at both ends, I'm sure.
And I believe you've had a weekend of drinking as well.
Yes, the weather arrived in Britain, and when the weather arrives in Britain, that means everybody decides to go and drink in pub gardens as many afternoons as they can. So yeah, that was my weekend for both Saturday and Sunday actually.
I was stuck inside a sweaty hobby store on the glorious sunshine on Sunday and absolutely regretting it.
I think I know where I'd rather be, to be honest.
Oh no, it was good though. It was real good fun.
In a hobby store with loads of sweaty men, and wargamer kind of levels of hygiene, or in a pub garden drinking and eating pizza. Yeah. This is why more hobby stores need to invest in better air conditioning.
I thought you were going to say like outdoor, like pub gardens.
That as well. I mean, that would be amazing.
That would be pretty good.
I used to do a bit of Garden Titanicus with Ben back in the day. I've not done it for a while. We used to get the gazebo out in the middle of summer and then play Titanicus outside. It was glorious. I think we're going to have to revisit a bit of Gardanicus. As long as they keep the wind down. But anyway, here we are again for another rambling episode of Maxmore Fire. It's been a busy few weeks. I'm still adjusting to playing and talking about a game that has, content which is delivered on a fairly regular basis, and also FAQs, considering that we've not really had anything for Adeptus Titanicus in a long time, apart from .mech.
Yeah.
So yeah, our stamina is down. We need to. I don't know how the 40Kers keep up with release after release after release. To be honest, I can just about manage the pace of this. But anyway, first off, just want to say a big thank you to our new patrons. That's Garian, Joe Green, the Locksmith, and Alex McElhinney. Sorry. Thank you very much, guys, for supporting the show. Quick Patreon reminder: you can join Patreon for as little as £1, and if you back us at £3 or £5, then you also get discounts to things like Battle Builder and Battle Bling, but you also get some free additional bonus podcasts content featuring yours truly and Muggins here, and Muggins.
Okay, it's gone from Corner Goblin. I'm moving up in the world.
It's like a hobby podcast that we do, and every month we release. It's about an hour of additional content, and
a little bit more laid back,
a lot more laid back, a little bit more relaxed on the language than we are on here because we can't monetize that, so we don't get demonetized by YouTube by dropping the odd swear word. But in other news as well, but linked. We have also opened up a brand new YouTube members offering, which basically is more or less exactly the same as our £3 Patreon tier. So you gain access to those said Newsphere videos as part of YouTube members, and that is $2.99 a month. So if you don't do Patreon, but you like using YouTube, then you can just click on the channel link and join. And get access to. We've got all of the Newsphere episodes from the start of this year onwards, and everything else will be released there as well as on Patreon going forwards. So, nice to give people a few options. You get things like custom emojis, Johnny, that you can use in your comments on YouTube videos and other great stuff that people obviously want.
Whenever we do our rare live stream, you can get
Oh,
all
that you
the
can use stickers and stuff on that if
mhm,
you remember. Yeah, it's
members only chat and
crazy.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes. So what was I saying? Yeah, Patreon. I can't do this without our Patreon members. I do appreciate everybody's support. And yeah, so there you go. There's another offering as well. If you aren't a big Patreon fan or you don't like signing up in multiple areas, you can just sign up in YouTube instead and get the same offering. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, one last public service announcement. We've still got some tickets available for the Corsair Gambit, which is happening on the 24th of May in Entoyment in Poole. This is going to be a 3,000 point narrative event, which is the climax, I suppose you could call it, to our trilogy of narrative events that we've been running over the past year.
Hell
Want
yeah.
to say any more on that, Johnny?
It's going to be sick. We've got some cool missions lined up, and yeah, come on down for a bit of fun, a bit of chaos in your games. I think I've kind of gone a bit off leash for the last couple of missions.
Oh dear.
So
Dear God.
yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. You get to play 3,000 points, which you don't often get to play, especially at events. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
With all the craziness that you can come to expect and randomness that we
Mhm.
have done in our previous
Cool
events,
event
like
packs, cool
random titans
cards.
turning up in
Yeah,
the middle of your
exactly.
games.
Yeah, warp
Hilarious.
storms that make your units attack themselves, and yeah, cool stuff.
All the good stuff that narrative events are about.
Hmm.
But the big news, I guess, we had the FAQ drop
Mm.
for Legions Imperialis. Some massive changes to the game. I think, generally speaking, all positive, or at least largely positive. We did do a video on this particular subject about a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to hear like our blow by blow thoughts on the FAQ, then you can go watch the video. We'll stick a link up above, and we'll probably put something down below if you want to. But yeah, I mean, I think the two biggest changes, I think we wanted to talk, we aren't going to go into everything on this because we've already done the previous video, but I think the two massive changes, which we would be remiss to not talk about, are the changes to the march orders now and infiltrate.
I love the change to the march order. Infantry units could technically just teleport up the board, especially being able to daisy chain buildings. Just wow. Really solid change that means that faster transport units and even stuff like jet bikes have a lot more kind of use, I guess, for faster units. You can't just rely on foot infantry. So really
Yeah, and if you
positive
do
change.
rely on your foot infantry, then we're going to see a lot more dedicated transports and transports in general. And I think that was the intention by GW. It's going to slow the game down in that regards, I think, a little bit, but in a good way.
Yeah,
I think it'll be interesting to see what new lists people start bringing to tournaments. It didn't make sense when you had a marching jet bikes moving. What was it like?
it's
4
like
or 5 inches faster than marching
yeah,
infantry. Like,
just didn't quite make sense, did it?
no. So good change there, and one that you're kind of a little bit split on, considering that your Dark Mech army that you run now, but no more turn one charging for infiltrators.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit rough. I liked the clarification that we can infiltrate in buildings. Anyone can, but not being able to charge after infiltrating, I think is a really good change. I understand it, even if I'm a bit sad about my my Harpax bullshit that I would pull in games. So I think it is a positive change, even if it softens up my army a little bit. But it's only the first turn. After that, you're free to play.
Absolutely,
So
and
a couple of
nothing
really
stops you
solid
from
changes.
nothing stops you taking objectives as well.
Mm.
So still a very valid tactic, still very a very strong ability with infiltrate. But glad to see that they've kind of recognised that it was becoming a problem, and it, even if you use it, it always feels a little bit dirty to use it, and it's just oppressive to play against when you know, right, okay, well, I've got to put everything on first fire or, charge to try and stop you from basically ruining my day. But
yeah, Alpha Legion lists were particularly nasty. It was Alpha Legion, right? It was the infiltrate, or am I thinking?
They could infiltrate loads of stuff.
So having that neutered as well is quite nice, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll even things up a little bit. With some, not all. I do think that the poor old Space Wolves just got worse.
I think they've
in my eyes
down on our tier list a little bit from that.
They were already in the bottom of our tier list as well, and now they're kind of like being pushed off the edge entirely.
There are some units that, shooting wise could potentially still be scary infiltrating, but only under very specific circumstances. So really they're just not super needed, apart from, I guess, denying presence on the board. But yeah,
it's definitely going to change the game, but I think it's a really positive change. And talking about tier lists and stuff, we did a tier list episode a couple of episodes ago. If you haven't seen it, you can check that out. Most of that is still pretty relevant. We did say at the time, didn't we, that let's get this immediately invalidated as soon as we put this tier list out. I don't think it's immediately invalidated it, but I still think our opinions on, say, Raven Guard that can infiltrate, I think it still holds true with that, with the exception being that the poor old Space Wolves, I think, got involuntarily nerfed by now their ability is next to
catching strays.
Useless. But hopefully we'll see that, as we always keep saying, balanced out in some formations of Legends in the future. If you want to know our full thoughts, go check out the video and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about the FAQ and what changes you think still need to be addressed, which are still outstanding despite so many changes sort of sweeping across the board.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Good start. For a first FAQ, solid. Gave me a lot of enthusiasm for the game, I must say. But anyway, we're here to talk Mechanicum today. So we bypassed the Mechanicum last time, didn't we? And we jumped straight to Dark Mech because that was what you were excited about. Oh. And this has come quite timely because there have been a few minor changes to Dark Mechanicum. So we're able to do this deep dive thinking about the changes which have been made. And the screenshots I'm going to put up, I will doctor ever so slightly so that you can see like the weapon profiles which have been updated and things like that. So hopefully it's of help. We're going to go through the normal Mechanicum formations. We're going to go through their special rules. We're going to go through their units. It's a place in my heart at the moment because I've decided to start building a Mechanicum force.
They're looking bloody lovely already.
I am really enjoying painting them, and I don't know if it's just because it's not Space Marines, but I feel like the quality of the sculpts that they've done for Mechanicum are just a little bit better than what they did for Marines, and it makes them a bit more enjoyable. I don't know if it's because the majority of them are slightly bigger than the Marine models, but a lot of them have a lot less of that dead space on the miniature that you kind of had to paint in sort of black bits to sort of hide where their weapons had kind of joined to their arms and places. Yeah. But no, I'm really enjoying painting them at the moment. I've got something like 35 stands or something painted up so far, which is pretty good for me.
That's very good, yeah. I wish I had that ability for LI-sized minis.
It does take a while, but like I'm trying to paint smart this time round. And not painting yellow helps big time, I think, as well. So I'm just on to my first lot of tanks. I'm painting up this 8 Triaras, and that's before the pre-order drops, because we've got the pre-order for the Karaknos and the Krios tanks come out, along with a ton of Mechanicum Knights in the coming weeks. Is that this? Yeah, this weekend coming, if we get this podcast out in time. If not, last weekend gone. I went a bit overboard with that. I bought 2 boxes of Carachnos tanks and 3 boxes of the Krios. So yeah, needless to say, I intend to run a few tanks when I can. But let's start today with some of the special rules. So the main special rule is the Mechanicum. Mechanicum's ability to take Knights and Titans in their formation. So for everybody else, Knights and Titans can only be taken as allies. However, in a Mechanicum list, there are formations which allow you to just add them as optional, additional units, which is great. And it's really nice to see. Gives you a bit of flexibility. It allows people like myself and Johnny, who are avid Titan enjoyers, to take them in a normal list. Still quite expensive for what you get, but it's nice to not have to be limited to that sort of allies bracket.
I think for that reason alone, I have been slowly regretting my decision not to not to go for some Mechanicum, normal Mechanicum bits, just to run with my Titans. I think they'd look wicked. Just on the
There's still
tabletop as a
time,
force.
Johnny.
I know.
Very nice to paint. Very nice to paint.
It's another ally army.
No, I know. Finish one first.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so the special rules are Automata Detachments, so Archmagos Primes on abeyance, and Tech Priest Auxilia models may be attached to any friendly infantry, walker, cavalry, or vehicle detachment within the same formation that has the Cybernetica Cortex special rule. This overrides normal restrictions about joining detachments of different types. So this really is overwriting that commander ability, which says that you must join a unit of the same type. So if you're, a Legion command HQ, they can only join other foot slogging tactical marines or infantry. This basically says you can take them with a huge amount, basically all of them, isn't it? Apart from super heavies, but there aren't any super heavies at this time in this book. So we'll come on to the Cybernetica Cortex and how that interacts with some of the units later on. And we'll touch upon those rules in a second. The next one is the Tech Priest Auxilia. So if a support slot is filled with Tech Priest Auxilia detachments, up to 2 additional Tech Priest Auxilia may be included within the same slot. These detachments count as a separate detachment, but do not take additional slots. So essentially, you can take 3 bases of Tech Priests per support slot, and then you can allocate those out as you want across your formation to get them to buff, as we will see in a second. And then the main 2 special rules, which you'll see throughout this army list, is Cybernetica Cortex X. So detachments with the Cybernetica Cortex X special rule can only be issued with an order shown in brackets unless instructed otherwise. If a detachment is not eligible to be issued with any of the orders listed, for example, it is within transport and cannot be issued with anything other than the advance order, then this rule is temporarily ignored. So example here is that some of these cybernetic units will have, to give you an example of what it means in the context of this rule, they might have Cybernetica Cortex brackets charge, first fire, let's say. Now, if that unit was within a transport and that transport isn't an assault transport, it can't charge out and it can't first fire whilst inside a vehicle, so that you would be able to override that default of charge and first fire to an advance to allow them to disembark from a transport. And then the last special rule is the Cortex Controller. So if a detachment with the Cybernetica Cortex special rule has at least one model wholly within 8 inches of a friendly model with the Cortex Controller special rule, the former detachment can be issued with any order. It would be eligible to be issued instead of just those listed in brackets. So similarly to Solar Auxilia, you have this system of area of control. like the auxiliary commanders.
Mm-hmm.
However, rather than you know, uh, rather than having set orders, you are dependent on the order that they can use is dependent on the Cortex, Cybernetica Cortex that they're pre-issued with. So if you're within 8 inches of these, and I would suggest people have a few of these dotted across their formation, then they can basically choose whatever order they want. If there's nobody within 8 inches, then they default to whatever their pre-programmed Cybernetica Cortex ability is. So interesting.
Yeah.
I think that there's, it's a little bit. I haven't played with mine yet. I'm looking forward to giving that a go. You kind of will get around that if needed, or does whether or not it's necessary to get around it. If you're going to be pigeonholing certain units to do certain things, and just saying, fine, well that unit can't charge while it goes off and does its own thing, or investing heavily in the units which allow you that kind of more blanket approval, a blanket control over the orders, such as the Tech Priests and the Archmagos Primes.
Yeah, it's a bit of flexibility.
Yeah. Okay, so there are 4 main formations which are available in the Mechanicus lists. The first one is the Tagma Sub-Covenant. This is your, dare I say it, kind of catch-all, a little bit demi-legion-y, bit of most things. Also has the dedicated transport ability, which is detachments within this formation that can contain only infantry or walker models, may be upgraded with Triaros armored conveyors as dedicated transports. Now, this hasn't been addressed in the FAQ, this specific card anyway, but there was a change made to the Triaros which says that is no longer a large transport, it's only a normal transport. So before you could take walkers in the Triaros armor conveyors, now technically you can't. So I'm not sure if that means this ability, surely it can't override their ability, because basically there's no benefit of taking Triaros armored conveyors as dedicated transports for walkers, because you can't put the walkers in the
In them.
Triaros anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it could easily be an oversight as well. I mean, law-wise, do they carry?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was some pretty hilarious stuff about the fact that you could fit 2 Thanatars in a Triaros. And you must have seen the size of a Thanatar, right?
Yeah.
I just had images of them kind of folding up like battle droids from Star Wars. Yeah, folding up into a Triaros. So I would assume that basically just means infantry now, and not walkers, and it may just be an oversight in the FAQ. But the main kind of core of this is an HQ with 2 detachments of the Ad Secularis Tech Thrall Covenants as your core, with 2 support options as well on top of that. So like I say, a bit of a catch-all, dedicated transports, little bit kind of what we've seen with some of our sort of battle line formations. Then we have the Autocratori Regiment, which is a very heavy sort of battle tank focused regiment. You'll see lots of Karachnos and Krios in those, and has the Cortex Controller rule, 1 vehicle model from a compulsory detachment, may be upgraded with a Cortex Controller special rule for 10 points. So yeah, I think that's more things that can. What I didn't actually have in front of me is how many units that actually affects as a formation rule. Where has it gone? So he says. So the Autocratori. So yeah, you can take Tech Priest Auxiliary supports. So really, that's Cortex Controller special rule, because as we established earlier on, it's only within the same formation that you can give that. Did I say it was in the formation? No, just friendly model actually.
Yeah.
So that there is a reason to take a Cortex controller, because your things like your, as we'll see, the abeyance, the tech priest quite slow and won't keep up with a lot of things. But having some tanks which can zoom up the board with the faster stuff and kick out some Cortex controller for 10 points is probably going to be quite useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's the Auto Reductor Subdivision. This is more like a kind of garrison force. I mean, this is going to be quite Thanatar heavy with lots of Bastions slots in there, which are designed for Thanatars.
Yeah.
Bit of HQ and support. And lastly is the Legio Cybernetica cohort, which has the Legio Cybernetica ability. So all slots within this formation, apart from core, transport, and Titan slots, must be filled with detachments that have either the Cortex controller or Cybernetica Cortex special rule. The range of the Cortex controller's effects for all models within this formation is 12 inches instead of 8. So very heavy on the cybernetic units, the robots. I think this is a really cool formation.
Yeah.
And having that extra 4-inch bubble around you, I think that's big. That's quite a big buff, and will obviously make them a little bit more reliable if you're going to be taking lots of Legio Cybernetica. So, yeah, for me, like I feel like I'm probably going to be taking a bit of Cybernetica cohort, a little bit of Autocratori, and a little bit of Tagma Subcovenant if I'm going full 3K, maybe even 2K. But I don't know. I think at the moment, the one thing which is massively missing from the Mechanicum is there's no flyers. And there's no real anti-aircraft. I mean, we saw similar with the Dark Mech, didn't we? Yeah. No kind of anti-aircraft support. So I would be thinking about having some kind of allied contingent if I wanted to take some air support, be that some Solar Rocks or maybe something like a Bastion formation from Space Marines with some Derrideos or something like that.
Yeah, just something to, focus on. I mean, it's not something you have to completely kind of actively counter, but it's nice to have that in your pocket. Something
we will see as we go through the units, there's a lot of reasonable to hits here. Yeah, and there's a lot of weight of dice.
Just shoot in the sky.
So they might not care.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
might not care. We'll have to, I guess, we'll see as we get a little bit more active sort of use out of my force when I've actually painted them up and based them all.
That's what buckshot's for, right?
Yeah, just firing shotguns into the sky.
One of the pellets will hit.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes that is, I mean, I've used my what are they called, predators. I have the all las cannon predators with my Imperial fists, and they can be very good and very effective at taking out aircraft, because you do have, you are hitting on 6s, but you've got a lot of dice that you're throwing. It's all of it anti-tank, and on top of that, some of it's accurate, so you get a reroll. So it's can be pretty spicy.
Oh yes.
Go on to the first units.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the HQs. So the HQs come in 2 flavors, which is more than can be said for like Space Marines, unless you count, I suppose. No, it's probably more now, isn't it? Because you've got the Space Marine vehicles.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They can technically be vehicle HQs, commanders.
But
you've got the Arch. Yeah, you've got the Arch Magos Prime on Abeyant, and you've got the Arch Magos Prime. So these are like 2 different versions of the same HQ choice. The big difference is one guy's on foot and one guy is on his floating sky chariot keyboard
podium
thing. Yeah.
Which, related, if anyone knows of a good STL of a Anacharis Scaraya, that would make a very sick Abeyant-based Mechanicum HQ unit.
I'll take your word for it because I've got no idea what you're talking about.
You know that Scorpion dude from 30K? they've literally got a model of him. He's like crawling down the stairs. He's got a hood. You really don't know what I'm. Oh man, 1 second.
I'm sorry.
I'm yeah. I can't
I'll
believe
have
it.
to look that up afterwards. But yeah, so your Archmagos Prime on Abeyant is 45 points. Your Archmagos Prime on foot is 25 points. So the Archmagos Prime on foot is the same points as a Marine HQ. He's got 5-inch move, 4+ save, 3+ calf, 2+ morale, and 1 wound. So pretty good. Morale same as Marine. CAF is above average. I think it's similar to a Marine. Save 4+ is good. And he also comes with Battlesmith, Commander, Cortex Controller, and Invulnerable Save. So he doesn't have that adaptive tactics thing like the Space Marines do, but he does have that Battlesmith special rule. And that's, I feel like Battlesmith is pretty spicy. This is so. The rule for this is if a friendly walker vehicle or super heavy vehicle or a model with the automata or automated sentry special rule within 3 inches of a model with this rule, when it suffers a wound due to a special rule or one that is inflicted by a weapon with an AP of -2 or worse, roll a d6. On a 5+, that wound is ignored and has no effect. Battlesmith cannot be used against wounds suffered in a fight. So this is the one rule, I think, in the game which works like I've always kind of thought you'll feel no pains.
It's a feel no pain.
Yeah, it's a feel no pain, isn't it? Because you take the wound and then on a 5+, you can potentially ignore that. I think it's a great rule.
AP -2 is extremely generous as well as a maximum. Maximum AP. You're not going to find much shooting at your. Well, I guess it's vehicles as well. So, but even so. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, how many las cannons are there out there, right? Most of those are -1.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're going to be hit by like a big old Vanquisher battle cannon or, you know, something of that kind of level, it's going to shrug off. Certainly like your anti-tank, like your light AT stuff. I think it's a great rule. And it has that.
So frustrating.
Yeah. And on top of that, he himself has an invulnerable 5+ save, which is really good. So he's got a good 4+ save to start with, and he's got his invulnerable save of 5+ if he's ever reduced below that. He comes with a Volkite Serpenter, short range, 6 inches, 1 dice, 5+ to hit. Definitely great and light. Fine. Bit short, but standard.
Yeah.
But for the extra 20 points, you can get the Archmagos Prime on Abeyant. And what you get for your 20 points is 1 additional point of movement. You get the same save, you get an additional point of CAF to +4, which is spicy. You get an additional wound, so now you are on 2 wounds instead of 1. And you get a melter gun as well, which gives you that 6-inch anti-tank option. So for 20 points on top, I think that's a pretty solid upgrade. You're basically getting 2 of them for less than the price of 1. Not with the weapons, but you're not really using them for shooting. You're using them to do their ability.
It's enough points as well to be able to patch a hole in the list. You know, you find with LI that a lot of lists you're kind of odd numbers with list building. You never can get that kind of flat 3,000 points, and you know, for that 20 extra points, just a flat out upgrade to your Archmagos. I think it's a really, really solid option. I don't know why you would go for the 20 point cheaper one.
I guess if you wanted to just bulk out some forces, because unlike a lot of lists, some of those formations have additional HQ slots in the optional. So if you had an extra 20 points you wanted to throw in their direction rather than spend them on tech priests, you could do that.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's like the kind of in between, whether you have a large spread out force where having like multiple Archmagos on foot would be more cost effective, and you make up the wounds that you're getting by just having an extra unit and paying 5 more points, whatever, 10 more points for that privilege of having 2 of them, But if you've got like quite a small, quite an elite force, or maybe one or two pieces that are going to be benefiting from it, then yeah, the Abeyant is it, right?
Yeah, my biggest disappointment with the Archmagos Prime is that you get one model in the kit, and it's him on the Abeyant. So if you don't have him on the Abeyant, you've just got one model on a base, and he's a one tiny little guy, and he looks a bit rubbish on his own. So I feel like you need to find a way to hero that base. Either put him on a rock, or give him some random dudes to kind of cluster around him or something, just to make him look a bit more interesting than one guy on his
Fallen
own.
Titan head, have him like on top of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, that Battlesmith rule is the standout there. But I think in unless points is an option or consideration, I think that Abeyant upgrade, let's say, is a solid choice for the extra calf, the extra wound, the extra inch of movement, just will allow him to keep up with stuff a little bit easier. Yeah, I think it's pretty decent.
And the
Then we've
Meltagun
got
is a nice to have, but not
it's a
need.
bonus, isn't it?
And if you need it and not having it, you'll be upset you haven't brought it.
It's 100% a little bonus. I mean, I always forget about my melter guns, but it's nice to have an anti tank option.
If you get
you
to a
always
situation,
need one when you don't have it.
If you get to a situation where that you're in range, you're going to probably be scanning your cards, wondering what you can do if you've got something in range of 6 of it.
Damn it! Why don't I have the ability to charge on these guys? Okay, so onto the core. We have the Tech Thralls, the Ad Secularis Tech Thrall Covenant,
Cyber Zombies.
Cyber Zombies, yeah, exactly. So these are 30 points for 4. You can take them in blocks of 4, 6, 8, or 10, and they come out at a very reasonable 60 points for a block of 10 of these. Kind of putting that into perspective, it's I think it's slightly more points for a las rifle tertio, and for that you get they're one less calf, like they're a -1 to their calf, but they're sort of on a par with that las rifle tertio, but their gun is rubbish. Like they are chaff. Yeah. Like one of the main benefits here that they have over things like the las rifle tertio is no morale. So you literally cyber zombie these guys.
Yeah.
Movement to 5, average, save of 6 is pants, but whatever. Calf of -1, they're going to lose every fight they get into, and 1 wound each. They've got las locks with a range of 6 inches, 1 dice. They hit on a 6+ with light, no AP. So they are chaff. They're cheap chaff, which you just throw at the enemy, I think, and either tie stuff up or take objectives and force people to kind of charge them while other stuff is protected. Just throw away units, I think.
Yeah, this is your Poxwalker spam where just having the morale nil is actually such a benefit for a chaff unit. Being able to literally just tie up combat till the last. Obviously, anything bigger than infantry is going to be running away, but even so, just surrounding an objective with a ton of those that aren't going to move unless you kill them, that's still, each one dead is still a hit that has to be rolled, even if it's going to be pretty easy to kill. Ablative wounds, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, you have the Thalax cohort, and this is like your heavy infantry option by comparison. So a bit more kind of on a par with like Space Marines. You get it's 25 points for 2 of them, and they can be taken in either 2, 4, 6, or 8, with 85 points is what you get for 8. Slightly more expensive than Tactical Marines, which I think are around 71 points for 8 with no additional upgrades. However, for that extra 14 points, you're getting a movement of 7 inches. Okay, infantry of save a 5+. Not great calf of +1. Decent morale of 3+, and 1 wound, but jump packs. So these guys will be able to bomb around the field pretty convincingly, I think, and assault things like buildings a little bit better than you would kind of otherwise expect them to. They have had a change since the FAQ, so they have lightning guns as their main weapon, which are range 8, 2 dice, 5 plus to hit, -1 AP, light anti-tank. And they used to have the Thalax plasma fusel, but that has been removed and been replaced with the multi-melter profile of 6 inches, 1 dice, 4 plus to hit, -3 anti-tank.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
What I like about that change is it gives them 2 different weapon profiles. So you can go tank hunting with them now, or you can that 2 dice, 5 plus to hit, -1 light AT is pretty decent. That's better than bolters. Okay, it's got no assault, but bolters are AP dash, and they are 1 dice normally with 8 inches, and you only get the 2 with when you get within assault range. So having 2 basic, hitting on a 5, -1 AP, light anti-tank. Yeah. I think that's good.
It's a slightly more elite unit. It's going to be jumping and going for opportune targets that can pop either infantry or tanks, like lighter vehicles especially, and with the jump packs and the very pretty decent movement of 7, they're going to be bouncing around the battlefield and just being a nuisance. I don't think they're going to be particularly hard to shift, but they are, they can move.
One of the few units which has a morale, but the morale is still pretty decent. I think these against tanks are going to be a problem because you're getting essentially 3 dice worth of hits against tanks, 2 of which are light AT, sure, but it's going to be a lot of stuff that you can pump in, albeit you have to get very, very close to be able to get the benefit. So I think really you want these guys in a Triaros or something, getting them up the board. No Cybernetica Cortex for these guys, so they can act fully independently. And same for the text rules, which is kind of like, I feel like that is wrong. Like I feel like that's not on my that should be on my screenshot, but isn't. So I'm going to check the book. But like if no, ad secularis text rules are apparently, despite being zombies, they are fully cognizant and can do whatever it is that they want without supervision.
Well, I guess they're not truly Cybernetica, are they? But I thought Phalanx were. That's weird, yeah.
So those are your 2 core options. They are also, like I say, fully autonomous, which is good. It's one less thing to worry about. If you don't want to be using your Cybernetica Cortex stuff, relying on those, these guys can always do what they want to do. But yeah, the Thalax, I think the jump packs is a really nice addition to that, giving them that option.
Yeah,
that's quick. 14 inches, especially now with the March change, it's 14 inches. It was ludicrous, wasn't it? 21 inches in the previous.
I was going to say, yeah, that would be a serious jump up the board, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, then we have the support options. So the first one here is, I think, one of the most important support options, and that's the Tech Priest Auxilia. So these are 15 points each, and you can take a max of 3 of them per support slot. So it'd be 45 points if you want to take all 3. So this is why you would probably fill out your Tech Priest slots before going and adding in an additional HQ at a minimum of 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, movement 5, save 5 plus, CAF plus 2, morale 3 plus, wounds 1. Average across the board, okay though. Special rules, attached deployment, Battlesmith, Cortex Controller, and Vulnerable Save plus 6 plus. So the 6 plus is nice, especially when they've got the 5 plus save. Means they're always getting something. The attached deployment, as we said at the start, means that you just stick them into the units you want to attach them with, the infantry, walkers, or vehicles, or cavalry, I think it said. And yeah, the main thing here, though, is more Battlesmith. It's more Battlesmith and more Cortex Controller influence, which I think is very, very key to how the Mechanicum use. Interestingly, no weapons.
No, just melee options. Well, a
Yeah,
calf, I guess. I guess that makes sense, right? It's cheap, and it's providing a very powerful ability to
it's
the
purely a
unit.
buff. It's a unit buff, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really.
you're essentially paying for an upgrade piece, and the token is a miniature.
Yeah. I mean, when you're considering that you're adding 10 points to add Cortex Controller alone to a tank in the Autocratori regiment, you add 15 points, you're getting Battlesmith as well, and another base. Pretty good.
Are
And
there? Go on.
You finish your thought first.
Are there? Because obviously it's not really something that's come up until this point. Are there any weapons with or Legion abilities with a character sniping from unit ability yet at all?
I don't think so.
No.
Not
Maybe
that I
that's
can
something
think
we'll
of.
see in recon squads if this is a thing going forward, making use of that attached deployment rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there is anything at the moment.
Because it is a
But yeah,
very strong ability.
yeah, and you basically have to, like you say, really the only way of dealing with it is getting into close combat or whittling them down.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is that these guys are going to be essential for your cybernetic forces. If you go Tech Thrall or Thalax heavy, less so. But if you want things like Thanatars, you want things like Castellax and all of the other robot dudes, you probably want to be maxing out this particular slot with as many of these as you can, just to have the options.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
good. I loved the models. I loved painting the model. Like they've just got this more so than the Archmagos Prime. They've got this kind of like little Cheebly kind of tech priest vibe to them, which was super cute. Which one I enjoyed.
They've
I
got the
enjoyed
little
painting
bots
those.
following them around, right, as well. The little
Yeah,
servitors.
little bug bots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very nice. But onto the serious units though now. The first one is the Myrmidon Secutor Host. Another infantry option. This is 30 points for 2, and they come in flavours of 2, 4, 6, or 8, with it being 90 points for 8. This time round, I did check and made sure that I looked at the maximum unit sizes and stuff, so we didn't have a repeat of the last deep dive.
The
We
revelation
did.
of the spider
Yeah,
box.
absolutely. 5-inch movement, average for infantry, right? 4+ save, that's good for infantry, pretty decent. The calf of +6.
Woo!
That's the spicy meatball. What are your butchers? What are your Erax? That's +6 as well, isn't it?
+5.
+5.
I'm pretty
So
sure it's +5.
So when we were sort of raving about how good butchers were in close combat,
Let me check that.
Yeah, he says reaching for his book.
Yeah, literally. I +6 on the charge, or is it +6 and +7 on the charge? Oh,
That's
look at
+7.
this.
+7 on the charge for those.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Oh God.
Butchers are +6 as well. So they're the same.
Okay, right, okay.
The same, but
they have an equal.
Even so. Yeah, +6 is spicy.
Yeah.
And again, fully autonomous. They don't have any cybernetica cortex. They're implacable, which means that they can choose if they want to stay in the combat or fall back. That's gonna hurt. I mean, I'd be taking a big old block of 8 of those, sticking them in a Triaros, and then ruining somebody's day. Because you'd need 2 Triaros to transport those up.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they have weapons as well. So they've got the Maxima bolters, which I think we talked about in the last deep dive. So range 8, 2 dice, 5+ to hit, assault and light. So that means within 4 inches they're getting 4 dice at 5+ to hit each. And they also have this new weapon which has been added in the FAQ, the Myrmidon Plasma Fusil, which is a range 10, 1 dice, 4+ to hit, -1 light AT. So again, they've got a little bit of ranged light anti-tank, but they've got a lot of anti-infantry at ranged, and they're just going to kill anything that they come into contact with that +6 calf. Because whereas you've got 4 fights, that you've got going on with your butchers, or okay, maybe 9, right? If you took a huge great bob of it, I take my unit of 8. Not only am I on the +6 CAF, but I'm probably going to be getting an extra dice against you.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's terrifying. It's competing for slots with the Tech Priest Auxilia. Something potentially worth thinking about.
Something I didn't check was, I wonder how. Like, I know there's no jump packs or anything, so you're going to have to deal with foot slogging or transporting them
it's going
somehow.
to be a transport for those guys, right?
But there's obviously no assault transport at the moment for Mechanicum, which is a consideration. But 5 inches, not particularly slow, but if you compare that against a Legion Assault Squad, Legion Assault Squad for 8 of them would be, it's only 54 points. So quite a bit more expensive than the same number of them if they were assault squads. And they're faster, obviously. But that +6 CAF, I think, is really what's pushing that up. And the 4+ save as well is decent for infantry.
Yeah. I mean, a load of those unloading from a vehicle into a building or whatever, and then just charging out from a place of relative safety is a scary threat.
Absolutely.
Bubble to have, for sure.
Okay, next up then we have +6 CAF. Next up, though, we have their destructor host counterparts. So whereas the Secutors were the close combat guys, the destructors are the long range. So these are 30 points for 2. Again, come in 2, 4, 6, or 8, capping out at 90 points for 8 as well. Same movement, 5 inches, same 4+ save. They've got a +3 CAF, 3+ morale, 1 wound. So still a reasonable CAF. Better than your average Space Marine. That's good.
Yep.
They've got the implacable special rule as well if they do get charged. But what I do like about these guys is their weapon options. So there was a slight change in this, again, in the FAQ, which suggested they either have Volkites or conversion beamers. They actually have both. So you've got conversion beamers, which are a range of 4 to 22 inches. So that's on par with a las cannon. 1 dice, 4+ to hit, -2 AP against anything. And then the Myrmidon Volkites, which are 12-inch range, 2 dice, 4+ to hit, deflagrate, and light.
Yeah. Wow.
Decent. Pretty good. I mean, like I say, more expensive per block than you would be getting. Like, that's more expensive than 8 missile launcher Space Marines.
Yeah.
However, -2 AP is good. And then at close range as well, you're getting, not only are you still getting the C-beamers against anything between 4 and 12 inches away from you, but you're getting those Myrmidon Volkites, 2 more dice on a 4+, and the additional hits from Deflagrate. So against infantry, that's going to be pretty decent as well.
Yeah, pretty nice. And having a shooty unit that can stand and shoot, and if it gets charged, just smack whatever it is back again. With a pretty comfortable CAF. These guys in the building are going to be menaces.
Does feel like another bunker unit, doesn't it? Just sitting in a bunker and then kind of like fire all around as much as they can.
There's a theme of versatility with these units, where there's kind of like a mix of options for your for what you can what you're going to shoot at with the just built-in weapons. So it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I've just finished painting up my Secutors and my Destructors, and again, really fun little models to paint. Now we've got the first of our proper battle automatas. So we have the Arlatax Battle Automata Maniple. You get one of these. You get 2 of these for 30 points, and they come in 2, 4, 6, or 8. Again, no, beg your pardon, I'm reading the wrong line. They are 40 points for 1 of them, and they come in units of 1 to 6. And it works out at 185 points for 6 of them. So the most expensive unit that we've seen so far. These are like the close combat Mr. Snips kind of big, not quite Thanatar big, but still pretty big walkers. They've
with the
got a
buzz
7-inch
saws, right?
range. They've got like, let's have a look at the box. No, they're like Mr. Snippy Snip.
Oh, they're like
Snip, snip, snip.
the kind of
Thingies.
Zoidberg
Yeah.
run up the board.
Zoidberg up the board.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Paint them red.
7-inch
wait,
range, 4+ save, +6 CAF again. Another +6 CAF option. 2 wounds for each of these. They are armored, so similar to Dreadnoughts. So they're just going to shrug off those light hits pretty convincingly. They have Cybernetica Cortex Advance and Charge. Invulnerable save of 6+, and jump packs. So again, more jump packs, more 14-inch charges, +6 CAF. And then they also have an autocannon and a plasma cannon, which is so the autocannon is standard autocannon, 16 inches, 2 dice, 5+ to hit, -1 light AT. And the plasma cannon, 12 inches, 1 dice, 4+ to hit, -1 AP, light AT. Obviously, because this is a cybernetic unit, by default, it can only do advance and charge. So you're going to need something attached to them if you want them to be doing march orders, for instance. And you're going to want to, for march orders or first fire orders. But really, you're going to be wanting to march and charge these probably most of the time, aren't you? Which is where it's going to be a little bit tricky, because your abeyance only 6 inches movement. Your other guys are only 5 inches of movement. So I think you're going to need to kind of rely on bubbles or an autocratory faster unit to
So I mean,
range ahead.
You will start theoretically next to or near a bubble, march out of the bubble, and hopefully with that speed, by next turn, I mean, and jump packs as well, by next turn you are in charge range already, so it doesn't really matter that you're not in the bubble anymore, because you can just go straight into, assuming that your opponents met you in the, relatively decent.
As long as you start in one, you've got like that 28 inches, haven't you? So
exactly.
The first 14 inches of marching and then another 14 inches of charging. So yeah, it's a big threat range to not worry too much about it. But, you might want to, once they've done the thing that you sort of set them off and doing, if you want them to do anything else, then you probably need to think about, unless they're planning on just ping-ponging between units, just charging, which, why wouldn't you? Really?
I feel like that's it, right? If you're in your opponent's lines and you finish killing them, these guys are the melee, they're melee monsters. Why wouldn't you do anything else other than just spam charge until they die? They're just there to, like the Arax, just there to...
Yeah. But they have a token anti-infantry and anti-light tank as well, don't they, with those, and the ability to do it using the advance. And because they've got advance orders, they can also overwatch if you wanted them to. I don't know why you necessarily would, but I suppose if you're being charged, then you can overwatch out as long as you yourself are not on a charge order. Just something to think about. The invulnerable save is nice. Yeah. The 2 wounds is the big thing for me, right? Because in close combat,
that matters.
1 hit is not going to get rid of them. They're going to be still there, hanging on in. And again, no morale.
Getting a hit in on CAF 6 as well. You're relying on your opponent being unlucky and you being lucky, but now you've got to do it twice. Rip anything that's being charged in a building as well with jump pack on this already crazy melee monster. When you put this into kind of context, right? If the average dice roll on 2d6 is 7, yes.
If you've got if you're being charged by Marines, they're on a +2 basic, right? So they're on a +3. Or if it was Solar Ox, I think they're +1, so they'd be +2. Which means you would, even if you were rolling, if you rolled a 4 on your dice rolls, you would still be beating an average, or you would be drawing with an average dice roll of a Space Marine on a 4+, which is, that CAF is just huge. It's more than a Leviathan Dread. I mean, I know that you don't have like the wrecker options and stuff like you do on the Leviathans, but like,
but
6 is big.
Yeah. Who cares?
I I didn't see them kind of putting Mechanicum down the kind of melee route,
Mm.
but there's a lot of scary melee
Yeah.
that we're seeing here.
Hmm. Yeah. Even
I thought we'd
aside.
be like much more gunline and big guns and Thanatars and all sorts, but I don't know. There's a lot of versatility there so far.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm liking it.
Okay. So next up we have the Domitar Battle Automata Maniple, which is very similar to the Arlatax, but the ranged version of it. These are 35 points for one, and again, units up to six, so capping out at 170 points for six of them. 5-inch movement, 4 plus save, plus 4 CAF, no morale, 2 wounds. Armored, Cybernetica Cortex, Advance and March, and invulnerable save 6 plus. So obviously slower, more like normal infantry speed. So you could stick yourself a tech priest with these guys to also give them that additional battlesmith ability. It's a good save. So if you think about it, right, like if that save, if you were hit by a -2 weapon, that save becomes a 6 plus. You are getting your normal or invulnerable save at a 6 plus, and then on top of that, you're getting another 5 plus. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Armored again, so it's gonna like most dreadnoughts, gonna shrug off those light hits, and then weapon wise, missile launchers and graviton hammers. So missile launchers, it's the same stat that we see on Space Marines. Always a good option, right?
Yeah. They're menaces.
I think the downside to these, of course, is that you can't stick them in a building.
In a building, no.
So,
True.
so if you're going to stick them anywhere, you would stick them in some obscuring cover instead of out in the open. But good missile profile, standard 20 inches, 2 dice 4 plus light ignores cover, or the 1 dice 4 plus -1 anti tank. And then the graviton hammers with Wrecker. So that's interesting.
Funny thing to put on a ranged unit.
Yeah. And they can't. They have to be within a Cybernetica Cortex controller range to actually be able to use that. Because you need to charge. You do need to charge, don't you, to go in base to base contact with a building and then wreck it.
Yeah.
I think he says.
Yeah. If
Very rarely use wrecker.
If a unit's in it, I guess I can't see why you would try and wreck a unit, not building without a unit.
Get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way.
Yes, yeah.
Take down the line of sight. I've seen it done before.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, you've got your advance and your march, so you've got your ability to automatically position and shoot stuff. But if you want to first fire with those missile launchers, or you want to charge with them, then you need a cybernetic controller. But I do think that if you're going to take Domitars, because of the speed in particular, and the 2 wounds and the decent save, it's asking for an attached, Archmagos or Tech Priest.
Tech Priest, yeah.
Yeah. And then is this the last of the support options? Yes, the last of the support options, the good old Castellax Battle Automata Maniple. These are 70 points for 2, so quite expensive, and the units go up to 8. So you're capping out at 250 points for 8 of these. 5 inches of movement, 4 plus save, plus 4 CAF, no morale, 2 wounds. Armored, Cybernetica Cortex, Advance and March, and invulnerable save 6 plus. So again, average movement, again, it lends itself quite well to staying in line with some tech priests.
Yeah.
Save of 4 plus is good. CAF of 4 plus is still decent. That's still really decent. But no charge that they can take advantage of unless they've got that cybernetic cortex.
You're going to be thinking twice about charging these units. They're not ranged options that can kind of fall down to a stiff breeze by any means, and they'll hit you back.
They're going to be hard to shift in general because if you charge them, then you're getting +4 CAF back against you.
Yeah.
If you shoot them, they've got good saves, and you've probably got Battlesmith in there as well against most stuff.
And they're in range to shoot you back with their very nice guns.
and 2 wounds each.
Yeah.
So that's 16 wounds in a unit of 8 for 250 points.
Yeah.
It's good. It's very good. Their weapons are anti-infantry. They're pretty average, I guess. Mauler bolt cannon, 8 inches, 3 dice, 5+, -1 light AT. That's good. It's all right. And then inbuilt bolters, again, more range 8, 1 dice, 5+ assault light. So within 4 inches, these guys are kicking out 5 dice each, hitting on 5+, which is going to be decent against infantry, but it's not going to do anything. These guys are not going to do anything against tanks, really. I suppose you could death by 1,000 cuts them, couldn't you, with those Mauler bolt cannons with a light AT?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you just rely on weight of dice, and you only have to. The stuff doesn't have a lot of wounds in this game. You only have to get lucky a couple of times, and you're at least killing a tank or two. So yeah, not completely useless at all for bolter profiles.
I mean, that's what, 24 dice hitting on 5s, which would be 0 against tanks. So 24 dice hitting on 5s would be, quick maths. Oh, is that like 4? 4 hits? No, 2 per 6. 8. 8 hits? Yeah, 8 hits.
Yeah.
He says, trying the mental maths. You get 2 every 6, don't you? So you get 2 for 6, 4 for 12, 6 for 18, 8 for 24. So that's 8 hits against tanks with a full rack of these guys on an AP minus dash. That's one, even a what are they called? What are they called? The super heavy, not the non super heavies. Kratos,
right? Sorry, I was a bit flashbanged by all of the maths going on.
Sorry,
there. So
it's like that thing, that meme from with all of the numbers.
Yeah. Just nod and say yes, Johnny. Just nod and say yes.
Yes, yeah,
yes, definitely. That's 14.
But that's 1, potentially 2 wounds on a Kratos. Or against anything worse than that, it's probably a couple of tanks killed if it's a 1 wound 3+ armor save tank. So not to be sniffed at, but again, close range, sort of similar to what we saw to like the Thalax earlier on. You've got to get close to get the most out of those. I'm not sure where these guys fit into a role within this. I mean, obviously they fit into a role in like the automata formation as being the frontline troops, but would you take the Castellax or would you take the cheaper multiple units of Thalax?
Yeah, because you've got the kind of the wide variety of options to shoot at with the Thalax.
The main thing going for these guys is Battlesmith.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, by their name, you just sit them on an objective, and just especially if it's not any buildings nearby, and it's like, okay, go on infantry, step out, and then even any tanks that come by, they're gonna get shot at and pinged every so often. So,
I mean, obviously their tactical strength is not as good as infantry, but if these are on an objective, they're going to be hard to shift.
I was going to say, yeah, and if there's not any infantry left to outcapture the objective, then they're winning by that anyway. Nothing to say you can't take a ridiculous, tiny, well, not even tiny, just a solid blob of tech fools to sit behind them or in them. And actually make up the points if you're worried of opposing infantry units trying to snatch it from them. But really, they're just a wall that you can put down that will block stuff from getting to other units behind them, and will occasionally do some damage with just weight of fire.
And again, even if they're like overwatching, which they can because they have advance, it's a lot of dice per stand throwing in Overwatch fire if you get charged. And then even if you get through the charge, got to deal with that +4 calf, which is not to be sniffed at.
Exactly. They're just a walking barricade.
Okay, so next up we've got the Vanguard. We're going to do the Vanguards, and we're going to take a short breath and have a quick word from our sponsors before we get into the final few units today. The first one we're looking at is the Ursarax, which are 20 points for 2. They come in units of 2 to 8, which means they cap out at 70 points for 8. So they are 15 points cheaper than Thalax. 7 inches of movement, 5+ save, +3 calf, +3 morale, 1 wound with jump packs. So very similar stat line to the Thalax, but they'd have the better calf. So these are more on par with kind of what you would spend on Assault Marines, with a similar calf. They have the Volkite Incinerators, range 6, 2 dice, 5+, Deflagrate Light, which is okay. And they're completely independent as well. So cheaper than the Thalax, but I think a reasonably solid independent assault unit is what I'm kind of getting from that.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything too exciting. But I mean, the thing is, right, is it can't building hop or anything either. So you are kind of stuck to the constraints of a walker as well.
These are not walkers; they're infantry.
Oh, they are. I'm looking at the Vorax. Well, there we go. I was going to say, I was like, I remember them being a lot smaller than a walker, but I'm gonna trust this. In that case, then they're just good. They're just good assault marine analogs, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't really know what more to say about that.
No, they're pretty straightforward.
Quite cheap. I like the fact that they're cheap by comparison to everything else. I think really everything in this force is more expensive than a lot of units that we see in the Space Marines or Solar Auxilia. I think that from what I've seen so far in this list, I think that the March change has been the single most impactful buff to Mechanicum, because walkers used to get constantly left behind from the infantry. They were too slow getting across the table to be impactful, and they were generally a bit of a liability. And there's a lot of walkers in this list. But now that March is down to double, it's much more of a level playing field. And some of these kind of movement 7 options, which seem to be quite, they pop up quite a lot in this list, are definitely going to hit above their weight, or what they would have done previously, I think, now with these new changes. But yeah, Ursarax, fine. I think solid, cheap-ish option for assaulting.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the one that you were looking at?
Yes.
Instead of the Ursarax?
Instantly, also, like, a guilty pleasure of mine. I really like the Vorax, even though I'm fully aware they are the dumbest looking little chicken bots. Slash like dragonfly / whatever the hell they're going to be in insects.
Yeah, they're just buggy, aren't they? They're like little bug dudes with the big bug heads and the kind of hunched carapace.
Gattlers. I will say one of the worst models I have ever built in 28 mil. You've got to like heat bend the ammo belts to go. So I'm there with it under my hot sink, burning my fingers, trying to like bend the bloody ammo clips, going nuts. But yeah, that's why there's only one build.
I dislike working with resin when you have to do that sort of stuff, like the bending of the ammo things,
because it always fractionally bounces back, and you can never, if you overcorrect it, you either snap it or it just doesn't. Yeah.
Roll on plastic Vorax.
Come on, let's see it.
Yeah, so they are 40 points for 1. Units of 1 to 4, which means they're 145 points for 4. So they are quite small units. Their movement 7, again, save of 4+, CAF a +3, no morale, 2 wounds, Cybernetica Cortex, charge and march, forward deploy, invulnerable save 6+. So they're quite fast for walkers with their 7 inches. Bless you.
Excuse me.
The forward deploy, of course, means that they are going to be getting on an additional 7 inches right at the start of the game, which is quite nice. But they've got quite a lot of weapons here. So they've got the rotor cannon, 12 inches. He muted himself that time. Well done. Got there quick enough. Save of 4+, CAF of +3, and 2 wounds with dash morale. Was I talking about that, or was I talking about the weapons? I'm distracted by your sneezing fits. Yeah, I've already done that bit. So the weapons, rotor cannon, 12 inches, 3 dice, 5+ to hit, -1 AP, light with rapid fire, and lightning guns, which are 2 dice, 5+ to hit, -1, light AT. So again, they can pump out a lot of shots.
Mm-hmm.
But no cybernetic cortex, first fire, or advance. With these forward deploying and being faster than those cybernetic controller units, you're going to need, if you want to get the most out of the rotor cannon, which 3 dice, 5+ to hit, rapid fire with exploding 6s, that's a lot of hits against infantry. It could be a good mulching unit. You're going to need to think about how you kind of get those that advance order onto them. But really, the +3 CAF on its own is a bit, but those power blade arrays give it rend.
Yeah.
So they're getting an additional dice when they're adding that 3 on the charge. So really, are you going to be using those rotor cannons much, or are you just going to be marching and charging?
There's a reason why it is only got charge and march. That's because that's all you should be doing with it. Yeah, I think this is a money monster, and I think the rotor cannon and lightning guns are nice to have. I'd say with only, I can't imagine you having like loads of these and only having 5 ups to hit. I think there'll be a lot of times where you're just going to get really unlucky. And so if you try and build towards them shooting and then them just not doing anything, you're like, oh, well, I may as well have charged. Rend is just so good.
Coupled with the 2 wounds as well, which again means that they're going to get, unless they're getting ganged up, which they might do if there's only 4 of them in a unit. They're going to be quite a sticky unit, I think. And even if they do get ganged up, the rend means that they've got an above average CAF, and if they've charged as well, that'll be 4 instead of 3. They're getting the additional dice, so even 2 on 1, it's kind of even dice that you're throwing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a good chance you killed the first one anyway, so you're probably going to end still engaged in combat.
Oh yeah,
which means that you're not going to be you're going to be stuck there for another round, because there's, unlike with normal combat, you can't rely on bases dying and now all of a sudden there is a separation between you and your opponent. Like, you're still stuck with somebody because it's probably killed the first one, and okay, maybe you took a wound on the second one, but it's still there. So yeah, Vorax, very interesting little unit. Again, another quite heavy close combat unit. I like it. I like it quite a lot. Okay, the last one for the Vanguard is the Voltarax Stratos Automata Squadron. These are 35 points for 1, and they come in units of 1 to 4, capping out with 4 at 120 points. These are 9-inch movement with a 4+ save, +2 CAF, morale of dash, and 2 wounds each. They are armoured, they have Cybernetica Cortex, Advance, and March, and vulnerable save 6+, outflank, and skimmer.
Nice. Fan.
Johnny's nodding, like, hungrily.
Yeah, no, I like it. I really do. It's just a solid. I mean, it's just cool to have Cav, right? for Mechanicum as a whole. And I think it's just going to be a really solid unit to be able to reposition around the battlefield.
They work very differently from like jet bikes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For a start, you got that outflank built into the profile,
Very
So
fun.
you can bring them on the flanks. But what you can't use these unless you've done a lot of setup for is they are not units which are going to go in and charge the back lines, because they don't have that ability to do that independently on the cybernetic cortex. But they do have advance and they do have march, so they can get in the back lines and start shooting stuff up quite effectively, or come in and start threatening backline objectives. The arc blasters, 10-inch range, 2 dice, 4+ to hit with neutron flux, and the Vulturax Havoc launcher is 15 inches, 2 dice, 4+ to hit, light AT. So the arc blasters are good against anything. I mean, there's 0 AP anyway, and the Havoc launchers are 0 AP anyway, so shooting at tanks, it's going to be 0 AP. So you've got 4 dice hitting on 4s against tanks.
Yeah.
So good against anything, or rather okay against everything, not particularly specifically good against much, unless you are shooting at other units with the Cybernetica Cortex rule. So that neutron flux trait of the arc blasters means if you're shooting your arc blasters at an opponent's cybernetic units, then those weapons count as having armor bane and shred on top, which is quite spicy.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's very circumstantial, right?
Yeah.
But the one time that you actually get to do that in a tournament or an event,
Yeah,
it's going to be satisfying. It's
mean,
enough for me to want to take a few of these in my list just so I've got them.
I mean, without it, they're just an annoying unit that's going to come in on the flanks. Maybe snatch an objective, or if not, just plink away at light vehicles. I mean, they'd be great to just annoy stuff like sabers. You just bring them on the side. The sabers are going to be flanking around the sides anyway, and just start plinking at them. And then
of course,
if there are any
if you can get behind, if you
Yes.
can use their outflank to get behind stuff, then they're going to be on a -1 AP for their rear armor. So like 4 dice hitting on 4s, that's 2 each, -1 AP. It's not to be sniffed at.
No.
Yeah. And obviously skimmer, which allows it to move pretty nicely across the board. Invulnerable save again, 6+, armored, so light is going to just ping off it. Interesting little unit. I really like the look of these, and I think just the threat that they have from the outflank is not to be kind of underestimated. And I do think that I'll be taking at least 2 of these in a list when I run these, just to have that option of threatening backline objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would not be able to leave your objective alone if I had some of these just waiting in the wings in outflank. So yeah, that's the majority of the army lists done. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to talk sponsor news. Okay, first up this month, and our sponsors news is Battle Bling. Battle Bling have announced that their 5th Warbreaker sale is going to happen in May. I say sale; they're not really kind of like at a sale price, but like the way that the Warbreakers are made, it's almost like a Kickstarter every single time that they do. They have to take the orders in, and then they're made to order, and they take hundreds of hours each to print.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a Warbreaker, keep an eye out on the Battle Bling socials, and or get in contact with them to find out if you miss it, when the next one might be. They do often, despite the price, they do often go fairly quickly. So if you are after a Warbreaker, and it is a fantastic model, it's definitely an investment, but it is purely, if nothing other than as a beautiful model to have in your collection, it is absolutely stunning. It's definitely one of the favourite things that I have in my collection. And of course, you can play games of AT with it if you want, using the rules which was put together by Chris and myself from Tabletop Standards, which was actually demonstrated in a bat rep which we did together, a double Warbreaker bat rep, which is available to our patrons on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do keep an eye out for the Warbreaker. In addition to that, there is a choice of weapons that you get when you order a Warbreaker, and they have just announced they're releasing a new Saigon option. So if you wanted a Warbreaker scaled Psy Titan, which just sounds revolting to me, to be honest. But why wouldn't you? Then the Saigon option will be available to buy as well.
I'll be waiting for my early Christmas present, Alex.
Okay, I'll add it to the list. Okay, next up we have Rock Minis. So Rock Mini are, again, like the purveyors of a lot of FDM printed terrain, as well as being one of the main manufacturers in the UK of all the Grimdark terrain STL kits. There will be a new epic scale scenery pack, which they'll be dropping in May. So it'll be FDM printed, and it's called Epic Sector Industry. So if you kind of think of what you would get from the Games Workshop Manufactorum set, it's a lot of that cranes and silos and buildings to kind of go with that as well. So from an affordability point of view, so much more value for money that you get from these FDM prints, and Rich from Rock Minis is a fantastic guy. I think there's a couple of videos up at the moment as well of his panel that he did at Salute when he talked epic scale gaming. So do check that out and have a look for that on the Salute webpage. There's no new news this month from Troublemaker Games, but they are busily getting out all of these orders for their new City Streets plastic kit. Again, if you're looking to pimp your terrain game, then Troublemaker Games have not only released these City Streets, which are an amazing board that you can play on top of, but they have a range of ruins and like raised plinth section. I don't know what you call them. Raised plinth sections for your buildings, or
building
plinths, right?
bases.
Plinth sounds like I don't know. It sounds like something you put a model on, but yeah, basically it just adds raised sections to your buildings.
Yeah,
that you can put your buildings on,
plazas?
Which always look cool.
No.
Maybe raised plazas, stepped plazas. Maybe you might
leave it in
that.
the comments.
yeah. What would you call them? But also some. They do like walls, and it's all done in plastic as well. So it's a really affordable option, and it's really nice looking terrain. And last but not least, Grimdark Terrain. So they released their March kit just after we filmed the last the last sponsors news, but now they have just released an additional STL pack to add to their Mytilene walls, which are a beautiful set of STLs for wall sections with some amazing new gates and towers to go with those gates. So like his first offering of the walls were great, quite small, but like he kind of came back at them again like a year and a half later and pimped them to what they are now, and they really are truly stunning.
Yeah.
Like if you are looking for a wall section for your epic scale gaming, like those packs in particular are particularly tasty, especially if you print at home. And if you don't print at home, then you can get in touch with Rock Minis and ask for a quote as to how much he can print them for you. Okay, back to the Mechanicum. Okay, so next up we have the last few units. We're definitely on the sort of glide slope to finishing this deep dive.
The final stretch.
We have the one Bastion option, which is the almighty Thanatar Siege Automata maniple. Name me, Johnny, one more iconic Mechanicum unit from the Horus Heresy than the Thanatar, please.
Oh no, that is the iconic unit.
It's the Mac Daddy.
Big old cannon on his shoulder. He loves it. Great
model, absolutely fantastic model. And in Legions Imperialis, you get to have loads of the fuckers, which is brilliant. So Thanatars come in detachment sizes of 2. There are 110 points for 2 of them, but you can have a maximum of 8 of them in a unit. So that goes up to 295 points for 8, which makes them one of the most pricey units in the Mechanicum list. They have a 4-inch movement, a save of 4+, +4 CAF, morale of dash, and 2 wounds. They also have armoured, Cybernetica Cortex, Advance and First Fire, and invulnerable save of 6+. So they're quite slow, as you would kind of expect them to be based on the size of them. again, sort of similar 4+ armor save what we've seen for all of the walkers. CAF of +4 is decent. It's above average. So again, you're going to be put off charging these guys. And the 2 wounds each is also a big deal as well. The weapon options that you have is you can have a plasma mortar and Mauler bolt cannon, or you can pay an additional 5 points per Thanatar to change that for a Solex Heavy Las and a Graviton Ram. And if it was me, because of the way that these weapon profiles work, I think I would probably not mix and match them in a unit. I think I would probably have a unit with the plasma mortars and a unit with the Solex Heavy Las. So a unit of 8, if you did go full 8, of the with the Solex Heavy Las, would be 335 points for 8 of them. So it's a big chunk of change for the same price. I mean, that's about the same as getting a Warhound Titan. But I think that would be 8 of them. That's the equivalent of 16 wounds, and you've got Battlesmith because you absolutely are going to be sticking a Tech Priest or a Archmagos with these guys to get the most out of both their abilities, but also Battlesmith. And yeah. So the Plasma Mortar is range 18, 1 dice, 3+ to hit, and it's a -3 AP Demolisher that ignores cover. So big bada boom.
Yeah.
Good against buildings. Good against tanks that come close. 18 inches is a decent range as well. And you also would then also get the Mauler bolt cannon, which is that 8 inches, 3 dice, 5+ to hit, -1 light AT defensive weapon. I like the plasma mortar a lot. I mean, I don't know if at 1 dice you would be using that a lot against infantry, but you could. If I was using this against infantry, I'd be blowing up the building.
I was going to say, you just shoot the building they're sat in. Yeah. Ignores cover is really nice on that weapon.
And then the Solex Heavy Las is an identical stat line as to normal las cannons. So 22 inches of range, 1 dice, 4+, -1 AP. But the big difference over a normal las cannon is armor bane. So you are re-rolling any successful saves, which is, I think that's a big upgrade. So I said earlier on, would you mix and match it because they'd be shooting at different stuff? Oh, maybe not. I mean, they're both pretty good against armor, but I guess your Solex Heavy Las is probably going to be wanting to target tanks, whereas your Plasma Mortar might be wanting to target different types of tanks or buildings or infantry in buildings or infantry in obscured cover.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Plasma Mortar, I think a tank's going to have a pretty bad day with it, even if it isn't exactly tailored, The
extra 4 inches is good, but it's not massive, is it?
Yeah.
The odd addition for me is that Graviton Ram with the Solar Heavy Las. You get Wrecker 2 on a platform with a 22-inch range. Hey, he ain't going nowhere.
No.
Like, with a 4-inch movement and you needing to Cortex control him to march.
Is this not the situation you were just talking about, where if you've put him somewhere on the board, you just punch down the buildings in front of you so that you've got a firing position?
But would you not just take 2 units of Thanatars, one of Plasma Mortars and one of Solex Heavy Las, use the Plasma Mortars to try and blow up the building from 18 inches away, and then the Solex Heavy Las to shoot the tanks which are hiding behind the building?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's an option, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure that 5 points is worth it for the Solex Heavy Las. I would rather have the Mauler bolt cannon, I think, than the Graviton Ram.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are kind of having to swap one out for the Graviton Ram is a bit interesting.
Yeah.
They must put a lot of emphasis on armor bane being decent, but Demolisher -3. What would you rather have? -3 on your AP or a -1 re-rolling like
save.
successful
I would rather have the
saves.
flat -3. I don't know about you.
I
I
think I
mean,
would as well, right?
statistically, rolling more dice does add quite a large chance to fail, but even so,
But not only that, like the plasma mortars are 3+ to hit compared to a 4+ to hit
yeah,
on the
yeah,
heavy las.
yeah, no,
So
very
you're going
true.
to hit more consistently with the plasma mortar.
Yep,
It's got a bigger AP. Okay, you're losing 4 inches of range.
yeah,
Ignores cover, demolisher. I think the plasma mortar wins for me, but I think only because you're paying 5 points for the heavy
yeah.
las.
I don't know why you'd want to. That's probably a good reason for it, right? But
If we're missing an obvious one here, guys,
yeah,
please stick it in the comments below.
lighter
But
vehicles that maybe wouldn't have such a strong armor save. You could have an argument for that, but then again, still a -3 is going to make sure that not as
right,
good armor save
let,
is non-existent.
let me math hammer this for you again, Johnny, and blow
Oh
your
no!
brain. If you had 6 of these guys, right, you're rolling 6 dice, which means the plasma more. If you were shooting at, say, a unit of, let's go with rhinos transporting some dudes.
Yep.
Um, if and this only gets better if that unit is in cover or not. But the plasma mortar is going to be hitting with 4 of those dice, and then those rhinos aren't getting any save at all because they're on a 4+ basic. However, the Solex Heavy Las, you're going to be hitting with 3 of them. They're going to get a 5+ armor save. Okay, they're going to be re-rolling that, but that might be one additional one that saves over just 3 of them, 4 of them flat out dead.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. If they were the same to hit, it might be a different consideration.
Yeah, it's just paying that 5 points, isn't it? It's so unnecessary.
Is the 4 inches that big a deal? Well, if you ask my wife, she'd say yes.
I was waiting for it.
Four, 4 inches is a big deal, right? Whatever
If
you
you
want to
say
say
so.
about it, 4 inches is a
If you
big
say
deal.
so.
Right? In the context of the game, 4
Yes.
inches is still 4 inches, right?
Right.
That is 22 inches is one of the longer ranges of common weapons that you see. So that coupled with the armor bane, maybe that is the thing which is pushing it. But I don't know.
But also,
Don't know.
just move the Thanatar up 4 inches with its 4-inch movement.
Yeah, with it as advance.
I mean, how
Yeah.
like you're going to have stuff that's going to be able to hit the backline units. You're not, this isn't something that's meant to be going for the stuff right at the back of your opponent's list.
No, this is denial of the center of the board, right?
Yeah,
No,
you can
I
do
mean,
that
okay,
with
22 inches if it's sat in the middle of the board is the equivalent of a 44-inch sphere or circle compared to a 36-inch sphere, which is an 8-inch difference all round. Fair enough, but I don't know. I think that you would combat that by just having 2 blobs of Thanatars, so one here and one here.
And to be honest,
and then you would
with how
cover as
terrain,
much space.
yeah, I mean, with how terrain dense LI is, both building and also just rubble and stuff like that, the chances of you being able to draw a line to the 22 inches to your target, as opposed to 18, like if something's in that extra 4-inch
Without
range
cover?
band, without cover, then either the board's quite sparse or you have the most godly firing lane, on the board,
Yeah.
right? So really, I think the differences between the two ranges you probably won't come up in most games because you'll never get that range available to you. And then if you do, most likely something sat in rubble, or less.
I mean,
In a
I
building.
own 16 of these, so I'm definitely going to make 8 up of each.
You're gonna make them work.
I'm going to make up 8 of each because the Solex do look cool.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to get more use out of my plasma mortar, especially considering that you're talking about, a 40-point price deficit at those higher amounts. I mean, if you were only taking these in groups of 4 to 6, which I think is probably more a sweet spot than 8, then it's obviously less. It's less points, isn't it? It's less consideration, but you do start seeing that because the points of Thanatar's sort of does scale. There is an economy of scale with them when you add more, but that economy of scale doesn't translate to the plus 5 points. I am making the huge assumption as well that it's plus 5 points per Thanatar because it doesn't say, the detachment costs 5 points more for doing it.
I mean, that would
but
be...
he will just check.
Yeah.
Where are we at? For 5 points, a Thanatar maybe instead be equipped with the following.
Yeah, so a
I
Thanatar.
stand correct. I stand corrected, though. They do still have the Mauler Bolt Cannon.
Oh, okay.
They don't lose the Mauler Bolt Cannon. So the 5 points gives them a Graviton Ram and the Solex Heavy Las. I think that these would have probably been significantly better when you could transport them in Triaros when it was a large transport.
Yep.
But now that it's not, I don't think that there is the... you're not going to use that Wrecker option ever, really. It's too slow. 8 inches marching is... Or charging is too slow.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think there probably would have been a real benefit of doing that, like coming out of a tank after it being driven up the board and then wrecking a building or something. Mm-hmm. But again, would you use the Graviton Ram or would you not just shoot it with a plasma mortar? I don't know. Let's move on. I think that was the longest section that we've talked, but we do love the Thanatar.
Interesting decision, wasn't
it? So next up we have the battle tank options. So the first up we have the Karaknos Assault Tank Squadron, which is 40 points for 1. Can be taken in units of 1 to 4, which comes in at 140 points for 4. So these are 8 inches of movement, 3 plus save, 0 CAF, 3 plus morale, 1 wound. So quite reasonably slow for, tanks when you compare them to Space Marine tanks, but compared to everything else, pretty decent. It's the same speed as a Kratos. Save of 3 plus is okay. That's kind of on par with most, certainly Legion tanks.
Yeah.
CAF of 0 is, whatever. Morale of 3 plus is good. Wound of 1, whatever. So yeah, their weapons, they have lightning locks, which are a 12-inch, 2 dice, 5 plus to hit, -1 point defense weapon. So that's pretty decent. Having 2 dice for a point defense, -1. I think the big thing there as well is it's not light.
No.
So that's point defense against anything.
Very true.
So if you were moving these guys, you could shoot your lightning locks at 1 unit of tanks and your Karaknos mortar battery at something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good. And the Karaknos mortar battery itself is a range of 30, 2 dice, 4 plus to hit, -1 AP, front arc, barrage ignores cover. So I think this is pretty spicy as well.
Yeah.
That range of 30 is massive. The fact that it can barrage and shoot things indirectly, and it's got a 4 plus to hit basic anyway, is decent.
Yes.
-1 AP against anything.
Yep.
And it ignores cover. That's a great weapon. I don't know. Where's the? He says trying to reach for. Let me find the. What was the Earthshaker cannon by comparison?
Oh, crikey.
That was in Talon, wasn't it? I'm going to pull up the Talon book because that feels kind of similar to what we saw in the well, that's similar to what we saw with the artillery.
Yes.
For
the basilisks.
Maybe basilisks. That's the word I was looking for. I think it's in Great Slaughter actually.
Yeah, but it's on a platform that's an absolute unit.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, 1 wound, but that's pretty standard. The free up save's really nice. The lightning locks are cool. Kind of contrasts a little bit to the to having a mortar battery, but at the same note,
Yeah.
you know, like you said.
So the Basilisk, by comparison, is a 6-inch movement, 3+ save, 0 CAF, morale of 4+ with 1 wound. So it's slower, but the rest is identical, but with a worse morale than the Kragnos.
Okay.
And the Earthshaker cannon does have 8 to 90 inches of range. So that's the obvious thing, right?
That's what it does, right? It sits at the back of the board and shoots.
Yeah. But it has 1 dice instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Hits on a 4+, the same. It does have a -2 AP, the Earthshaker cannon, arc front and barrage, but it doesn't have ignore cover. So you've got it's like a different flavor of that barrage weapon. I like it a lot, but I don't like it as much as I like the idea of shock ram.
Yes. Watch this tank Kool-Aid man into a building full of Space Marines.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just collapse the building, fire a mortar, and then shoot another tank in front of it, and then peace out again.
Where's the enemy, Commander? The other side of that building. I can't see them yet. Make me be able to see them, please. Again, let's run through the building. -2, Wrecker 2.
That's so cool.
So it's decent.
Yeah.
It's decent. I mean, I don't know why you would use that.
No.
It's nice to have the option, but I wouldn't want to be charging. I'd want to be firing that Kragnos mortar battery as often as I could at anything that I could, and point defense in the lightning locks at anything that I could.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like that a lot. I've got 2 boxes of those coming, and I think they're going to be very much mainstay for me. I'm going to hopefully get a lot of use out of those. Okay, next up we have the Krios Battle Tank Squadron. So they are 100 points for 3, and you can get them in flavors of 3, 6, or 9 with 270 points for 9 of them. It's quite pricey, but you get a lot of tanks for that amount of money. Movement 8, 3+ save, 0 CAF, morale 3+, wounds 1. So again, pretty average across the board for a kind of basic tank. More or less exactly the same, actually. It is exactly the same as the Kragnos. And it comes with either the Krios Lightning Cannon or the IRAD Scourer and Volkite caliber sponsons. So the Krios Lightning Cannon is 22 inches, 2 dice, hits on a 5, -2 AP front arc. And the IRAD Scourer is 16 inches, 2 dice, hits on a 4+, -2 light AT and ignores cover. So there's a lot of ignoring cover in this army list, is what I'm seeing so far when you kind of start piecing all these pieces together. You've obviously got the IRAD Scour is anti-infantry predominantly, whereas the Krios Lightning Cannon is anti-anything, but probably anti-tank is what it's going to be mainly used for. 22 inches again, las cannon range with an additional dice, slightly worse to hit. Big old -2 AP is really nice. So that's going to make the Lightning Cannon a decent anti-tank platform, I think. And then the IRAD Scourer, like I say, 16 inches, 2 dice, 4+ to hit, -2. That ignores cover is massive. Light AT, -2. It's just going to rinse infantry. And it's going to be okay at vehicles at a pinch or walkers and that kind of stuff.
I mean, say you've shot a vehicle with your lightning cannon, and there's a couple of wounds left on something. Just why not, right? At least it can actually, damage it, even if it's a lot less likely. And then if not, bye infantry.
But let's not forget about the Volkite caliber sponsons, right? They are range 12 inches. 1 dice each, 4+ to hit. They are accurate, deflagrate, light point defense. So, okay, it's only 1 dice, but you roll accurate, you've got a 75% chance of hitting then with that dice roll. Deflagrate's going to cause an additional hit for every wound that you cause. And point defense.
Yeah. Don't come near me.
I like it.
Anything that's not a tank.
It's going to be great for Overwatch.
Yeah.
It's going to be great for just moving and shooting other things, especially with if you're like the Krios lightning cannon. You've got that just taking care of any infantry around you, and the lightning cannon, doing pay dirt against tanks. But on the IRAD Scourer, of course, there's only 4 inches of difference, so you're probably going to be in a similar range bracket to each other. But your main gun, which is doing a light AT, ignoring cover, and then you've got this re-rolling of accurate Volkite. So even if they are in cover when you're shooting at stuff, like that -1, when factor in the fact that you're starting with 4+ and you've got accurate, it's good.
Yeah, I like it.
It's good. Yeah. Krios Battle Tank Squadron. Not bad. I think it feels predatory, doesn't it? It feels similar to kind of like how you would run Predators, but with probably slightly less range of what you can take on them.
Yeah.
Like customization. But
I mean, you can, like I said, mix and match. You have your lightning cannons for squishing, and then if you can't, you don't have to finish them off with the tanks with the IRAD Scourers. Then you've got surely plenty of targets and buildings. It's still it's not not a bad range by anything. It's just pretty mid.
No, pretty mid.
Yeah, they're fast enough to keep kind of pace. I like them.
But if you don't like the sound of either of those, then you have a different flavour, and you have the Krios Venator Squadron. So exactly the same stat line, 8 inches 3+0, 3+1. But instead you get this pulsar fusel weapon, which is 12 inches, 1 dice, 3+ to hit, -3 anti-tank arc front.
Yeah.
So that's your tank hunter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's your tank destroyer. Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to hurt. Good to hit. Feels similar to kind of like the Sabre with neutron, but without the neutron.
12-inch range is a bit rough.
It is a bit rough for going anti-tank.
Especially with no mechanism apart from 8-inch movement to deliver them to within 8 inches.
But then the Sabre's the same. The Sabre's really close.
True. But do they not have a pre-game scout move, or am I thinking something else?
No, but they've got nimble, which is why they go up the board. Which and they're like
drifting just round the side of buildings.
They're much quicker than these guys.
Yeah.
So they are going to get up a lot quicker. But then they also have the Volkite caliber sponsons as well. I think they're exactly the same. Yeah, so you got all of the benefits of that as well. So,
which if you're getting within 12 inches, they're nice to have as a point defense option.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there seems to be a lot of kind of like, don't charge me. Like there's a lot of downsides to charging. Either you're going to get overwatched with pretty heavy duty Overwatch abilities, or you're going to be running into walls of calf.
Yeah, you're going to say you're going to get smacked back.
Yeah, so it definitely does feel like it's not a force that you can kind of deal with, particularly with just charging with, but it does feel like a very elite force, an expensive force. You're not going to see as many units on the board as you would do in the Marine force, but the units which are there are probably going to hang around a lot longer because many of them are multi-wounded, or they've got the battlesmith things triggering all the time. But last but not least is the only transport option which we haven't discussed, is the lowly Triaris armoured conveyor. So this is movement 8 like everything else, safe 3+ like everything else, CAF 0, morale 3+, wounds 1. It used to have the large transport 4 special rule, which allowed you to do the hilarious 2 Thanatars in a Triaris armoured conveyor. That has been FAQ'd to now just be transport 4, which is fine, but this now means that you will be seeing this ferrying things like Thalax, Ad Secularis, Myrmidons, Ursarax. Probably less so Ursarax because there's no assault transport and you can't charge out the front of it. But it's your workhorse. It's your Transport, it's probably a dedicated transport. You get twin-linked Volkite calivers, so slightly worse versions than the ones that we see on the Krios Venator. It's the same stat line more or less, with the 12 inches, 1 dice, 4+ to hit, 0 AP. It does have accurate, does have deflagrate, does have light, but it loses the point defense. And the twin-linked Mauler bolt cannon, which is a range of 8 with 3 dice, 5+ to hit, -1 AP. It's a light AT option, which is nice. You don't get that on things like Rhinos unless you are taking, the 5-point upgrade for the Havoc missile launchers.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no point defense anywhere on the Triaris armored conveyor, which is a little bit unusual when it comes to transport. So it's certainly not what I'm used to, having run so much Space Marines up until now. But they are 60 points for 2 units. You can buy them in 2, 4, 6, or 8. So it's 240 points if you want all 8. But, with a transport of 4, you're probably going to only be taking 2 to 3 of these to be transporting a detachment around the place. And yeah, it's a transport.
Yeah, it's a pretty weak note to end on, but it's
it does. Yeah, I should have put this earlier on, shouldn't I? So we could have, yeah. And there you go. This is your school bus.
Credits roll. That was actually our new outro. I hope you liked it. Yeah,
but it's fine, right?
It's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. It does its job. I think it's kind of lame that it lost the ability to transport heavy stuff, but I see why. I think it's probably going to be ferrying myrmidons. Anything without a jetpack, it's going to be whizzing around places. Even the shooting myrmidons as well.
And even those with jetpacks, you're just going to put them on a march order.
Yeah.
And then move them, 16 inches at the board, and then deliver them further.
Yeah.
14 inches further up with their silly movement. But yeah. The Triaris armored conveyor, everybody's favourite school bus. Great model, though.
It does look cool. It's a shame it doesn't have like a ram or something. That would be just something to make it look extra unique.
Oh, that would be silly though, wouldn't it? It'd just be like literally.
People would just be spamming them, just meleeing stuff with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna just ram these school buses into every vehicle after I've disengorged my disembarked.
Yeah, that's the one.
Disembarked.
Disengorged.
Not got less engorged.
Vomited.
Could have got less engorged.
In the infantry.
Yeah. But there you go. I mean, what's your thoughts then, Johnny? We've gone through a lot of units today, right? There's a lot here. The options, I think, are incredibly broad.
Very varied.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking the direction they're seeming to go with the kind of like different sub factions, I guess, like Cybernetica, etc. And them kind of having their own identities model wise. I think it's cool that there are so many versatile units that have the options of hunting a couple of specific targets, as opposed to kind of the rock paper scissors of a lot of the earlier units that were released, where they could kind of have like one target unless with one loadout. These guys are getting like just heavy weapons mixed in, for example. Just a lot of really unique units. Again, a bit of a focus I like with Dark Mechanicum on ignores cover, which I think is the kind of the big thing in the game at the moment is cover as a whole, and garrisoning buildings. I think that is something that you're guaranteed to see almost every game, and so it's quite strong just to have that as a fairly available option. Some really cool stuff. A lot more, like you said earlier, a lot more fighty than I was expecting them to be. But then again, these units, lore-wise, 30k wise, have been fighty for the most part. They're all armed with variable weapons, melee weapons, big fists, and all of that sort of stuff. So I can see where it comes from, but I think we were just kind of expecting this to be the shooty army, right?
Yeah, like lots of Ordinatus or something, and just
Right, yeah, as like a kind of like a
sieging.
comparison to the spider bots.
I think it's probably like if you are a heresy player, I think
Mm.
you would probably be like, "What are you talking about?" But
Yeah,
as we neither of us have really played them in heresy, I guess we don't really know how they are, how they perform in the current rules. I don't know if they are. Does this do them justice? Is this
mm.
Do they look like they feel similar to how they play in heresy? I wouldn't know. But you all right?
Yeah.
Not
I'm
gonna
just
keel
dying
over to
here.
me right before the end. Yeah,
Right at the end as well. We've made it so far.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I got
yeah.
con flu from the weekend. If you're
Oh
wondering why I've
no.
been sniffling all episode.
But yeah, no, I think I agree. I think that they seem quite vulnerable to air. I think that that's going to be where you will like certainly things like those Karachnos are great.
Mm,
Absolutely going to be target number one for any air that
mm,
like because it's a fairly small detachment as well. So it's not going to take much to make them roll on those morale checks when they start losing units. Same with the Krios. Some really outstanding tanks and really good stuff. But I think that for the most part, they are fairly vulnerable to long-ranged anti-air.
mm-hmm,
Yes, they've got some things which they could use as anti-air defense, but there's nothing specialized for that. And what they do have is quite short range, so you'd probably be able to outrange and keep your guys fairly safe.
mm-hmm.
So the jury's out as to whether or not there is almost a need to take allies with these guys to kind of fill that gap with, even if it's just some Hyperios,
Yeah.
Tarantulas, or some Derrideos or something to stop you from suffering from anti-air. And obviously they have no air of their own as well. So far. Whether they'll release something down the line, who knows?
Yeah,
I think that would be a nice little touch.
I'm trying to remember whether there are any 30k Mechanicum flyers. I don't think there are.
I can't recall any, but that's not stopped them from making
No,
new
yeah.
stuff in
I
the
mean,
past.
they've made spiders, so yeah,
Exactly.
give it.
But yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to trying these guys out and getting my army finished. But I'm one of those people, annoyingly, who has to paint everything before they can put them on the bases so that we can start playing with them. I can't paint them on the bases; they have to be painted on my little cocktail sticks. Where are they?
Oh god! Look
my
at
little.
this.
Let's do the hand thing again.
Insanity. Hold your hand behind it.
Oh, come on. Focus on my hand. Keep focusing on my hand. There's my hand.
There we go. Right, okay.
And then the money should...
Hold your hand behind it so that it's got a background to focus against.
There we go.
Look at that.
This is my little trick for painting Legions Imperialis. So I get a little cocktail stick, and this stuff here is some just sticky back tape from
Tamiya.
Amazon, which costs... No, it's just like double-sided sticky tape.
Yeah.
Which I got from Amazon because I tried super gluing them and then they were a nightmare to get off the cocktail sticks when you super glue them. But these things peel beautifully straight off and they hold them really well. So there's my little tip for the night. But anyway, that is, I think, our deep dive into all of the units of the Mechanicum. I know it's a bit late, but I think it's actually done us a favor by being a little bit late because we've been able to incorporate all of these FAQs. Let us know what you think in the comments. Like, how would you get around some of the kind of gaps that we've seen in the list with regards to like air support, or do you run them as a melee list, or do you run them as a sort of siege list? Which of those four formations is your favorite? I'm certainly looking forward to trying out the Autocratori and the Cybernetica cohort myself. I think that's the one that gives me a happy feeling in my trousers when I look at them.
Oh man, you need to get out that hobby room.
I do need to get out of that hobby room. I guess on that semi-aroused bombshell, we're going to call it for the night. Thank you very much to everybody for watching. Please do like and subscribe on Facebook. It all helps with our reach, helps with absolutely everything. Helps us get the word out about Maxmore Fire and supporting the work that we do. If you do feel like we're worth a little bit extra, do consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as £1, or by joining our YouTube members from $2.99, which is less than a cup of coffee a month. And for that, you get more content of me and Johnny talking shite for an hour at a time.
Ish.
And you get to enjoy the Noosphere. And the Noosphere is a like I say, a hobby podcast, but it's more about you guys as well. We answer a lot of your questions or what you're thinking. We just had an excellent discussion on the last one where we talked about event organizing. It seemed to have gone down well with the patrons, just hearing our thoughts on how we go about arranging events and organizing events, which we do love doing. So if you want to hear more from us and a bit more kind of behind the scenes chat, then the Noosphere is there for you. So on that bombshell, and when I go to sort of calm myself down in the cold shower, it leaves me enough time to say thank you very much for watching, and please always do remember to go big, go loud, and go fully.
4 inches. Good night.